aboard! Outdoor service owners, rise and shine. It's time to start fueling your success, one adventure at a time. Welcome back to Outdoorsy Entrepreneur, brought to you by House Call Pro, where business owners come to explore ways to take charge and level up. We are your hosts. I am Kevin Fontaine, and this is Patrick Harders. Join us on this journey every Wednesday. Like, comment, subscribe on our YouTube channel, and listen to wherever you get your podcast. And follow us on our social media platforms at outdoorsyboss. What's been going on, Pat?
I got to say, I'm envious of your location versus mine.
Yeah, so. I'm practicing one of our 6 key principles, prosperity.
Yeah.
Hanging out on the ocean.
Being able to get out of the office and onto the beach even during peak season, because we're all in the middle of spring, and to be able to take some time off and get out of the field, and great job.
Recharging some batteries, celebrating a birthday, and had some family down the east coast of North Carolina, and the weather's been great. The sun's been out, and so have my buns. I've drank my weight in beer over the weekend. And
I was going to say, there's no Corona there. I don't even know if you're really doing a beach trip if it's noon and you don't have a Corona.
I know. It's water time right now.
Mm-hmm.
So how have you been?
I've been good. It's been it's always fun when the gears start really turning and you're seeing the season pick up, and all the things that we planned on the off season start really implementing, and seeing some fruit of our labor. So it's a fun time. I like the excitement.
Yeah, busy spring and revenues coming in, and revenue is always great because it opens up your business owner mind to have the stress go down a bit, where now you can afford that extra advertising or hiring that other employee or expansion.
Make that stupid decision to go into a catalog or a magazine. I've done that every spring where I'm like, I'll give it a shot. I've got extra money. But that's part of having a plan and a process you're going through even on the marketing side. But it's fun. I get a lot of calls from a lot of new designers, and walking them through some best techniques and things like that. So fun watching businesses grow.
Hell yeah. So, today, guys, what we're doing is talking a little bit about identifying problems and creating a solution behind those problems so they don't reoccur. And part of our belief is to create a process, a procedure, and a system around a specific issue to help drive your business to that next level. And, earlier in our careers, we tend, Pat, to be firefighters.
Yeah. Where
every day's a new day. We think because the sun's shining, it's going to be awesome, 100% productive. But, that's not the case. Problems arise, and we tend not to be proactive when we're young.
Yeah.
We're more reactive, I think, You
go down a checklist and feel you were successful because you checked everything off, but sometimes just seeing what that issue is that keeps coming up and you're not even identifying that you keep dealing with the same problem over and over again.
Oh, I know. It's just a battle, So we've all been there. Instead of letting these problems, turn your adventure essentially into a nightmare, we want to give you a little information on solving problems, prioritizing problems. I guess, Pat, the first thing is to identify a problem, right?
Yeah. I really do think it's one of the hardest skill sets. Like, teaching somebody to be a problem solver is really difficult. You kind of either have it or you don't from one aspect, but the ability to identify you're having an issue, and that's huge from just talking to your people and they keep having the same thing come up. A lot of times it's communication as you start to grow, where like when I'm doing everything myself, I don't have to go through and like lay everything out for the next person. But the moment I'm starting to hand things off, that's where communication becomes such an important aspect. And if you keep having the same thing happen, one customer, the next, the customer didn't know I was coming or didn't know what time I was coming, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you're not proactively taking a moment, maybe sitting at the beach, thinking about the issues and how to solve that issue, nobody else in your company is really doing it.
That's right.
And you also want to have that open channel. So when your guys come to you or whoever in your company says, hey, this has happened 2 times or 3 times, then it's an issue. And it's something you got to say, all right, how do we strengthen this? And I always look at businesses as a chain. So I always want to make my weakest chain a strength. So I'll try and pick out a couple of things that we're looking at. Like if we're having a weakness, whether it's, getting our leads or closing a sale or the installation process, whatever it is, like if it's not our strength, that's where I'm going to put my time and energy to convert that into something that really becomes a strength for us.
Hell yeah. And I think you can implement this strategy into your own company culture and embed your staff to look for these problems, every day. And that's kind of a nice culture building strategy, is to get people to identify, know when a problem needs a solution, and raise their hand and say, hey, Pat or business owner, I saw this today. What do you think about XYZ? Now they're helping become little mini business minded people out there, and hell, reward that behavior too.
Oh, yeah.
With some incentives.
I remember reading a long time ago, someone said the difference between a business owner and an employee is an employee will see garbage like sitting on the floor and walk right by it, where the business owner is walking around picking it up. And a lot of times we find ourselves just always being the guy that's picking up all the crap and not being the one to like instill that belief of like, hey, take ownership in this business, because, the rising tide lifts all ships. If this business grows, you're going to grow with it. And, it really is like both of my businesses, we have a can-do attitude is one of our sayings that we say in Sterling Lighting all the time. In Dayloom, we talk about being problem solvers and
awesome.
Finding what the issues are and saying, how do we make this not an issue again? Or reduce it.
And as we look at a problem, my first take is, all right, let's find out why it happened, and sit down with the staff that happened to be involved with that issue, if that was the case, and brainstorm, what led up to this happening, write down what happened, and then that helps you start to open that up to see what our potential solutions could be in that particular issue there.
Yeah. And it can be challenging because you get a lot of times people feel like they're being attacked. An example would be, one of my technicians shows up to the house, customer doesn't know that they were coming. So it's like an awkward situation. And so then you start going back to the office saying like, why didn't they know they were coming? Why was the notification sent? And then it's like just having the humility to say like, oh, well, currently the way we're doing it is they get a text message or they get an email and they didn't check their email. And it's like, all right, well, now we got to take a step back and say, there's probably a problem that's on I got to be the one that takes ownership of the problems. But then, trying not to hurt people's feelings, which, is always a challenge, especially in this day and age. Everybody's feelings gets hurt really easy and they just want to be told they're doing a great job no matter what. Yeah. So you want to overcome that challenge that's just out there right now.
The feeling of, oh my God, I'm going to be blamed and exposed
not my fault.
Right. So, let's break down what is a process, what's a procedure, and what's a system. We hear these things all the time, and we kind of tend to lump these together, these three. Let's take a scenario of, all these three: process, procedure, system, and let's work these together in, say, a mowing service, right? Just to give you this breadth of information. Process is the big picture of, let's say, how your mowing service operates for each customer. It outlines the general workflow and the initial contact to completion, but it doesn't go into much detail. So let's say number 1, scheduling; 2, preparation, getting the crew together to gather their equipment, the actual mowing side of it, the cleanup, and the payment. This process applies to all your customers, whether big or small, but it's just a very quick synopsis of what you are going to do. It's almost like a checklist, Pat, because a checklist doesn't get very detailed. It just makes sure you covers the big bases.
Yeah, and this is an important thing, is to really look at what your big picture items are. Like, I never brought checklists out on jobs. Did you do that when you were starting off?
No.
Because it's like, it's kind of, I remember years ago, I was talking to a good friend and he's like, what's your closing percentage? I'm like, I don't even know, because it doesn't matter. If I suck, then the business sucks. And like, I can only fix me so much. Right. But then as I started getting a sales team, it's like, well, now I really need to know what is your closing percentage? And everybody needs to take ownership of it. And what's your average order size? And what's your discount
Oh yeah.
rate? And what are you looking at? So, numbers become your ally, but when you're on your own, you're never typically looking at, a checklist to go like, hey, did I clean up all the crap? Did I check the transformer? Did I do a walk around and somebody else and we double check the timer? And, the worst thing in my industry, and for me in lighting is, when the lights don't come on the first night. So the customer's
I
all
know.
excited. They're standing out there
Right.
and it's like, oh, somebody set the timer for AM instead of PM. So once that happens once, it's a one-off, but the second time it's like, all right, now we got to figure out what's going to be the checklist that we make sure that that's being double and triple checked, so we're not getting that angry phone call at 9 o'clock at night.
Exactly. Yeah. Good stuff. And, as we're starting out in business, procedures and processes and systems aren't really on our forefront mind. It's just about tackling each day-to-day task. And what Pat's saying also there is, as you grow your business and get more people, your revenue stream is becoming larger. You need to then count and have a way to track things with numbers. So it's like playing a game without keeping score.
Yeah.
What's the point, right? So you got to know your bottom line numbers. As each job comes in, you're going to start tracking, profitability at that point and efficiencies, building in more of those.
Yeah. You start off and it's you. And then maybe
Yeah.
one person. And those are fun times, and you're just kind of rolling up your shirt sleeves and going after what you need to go after. But I was talking to a successful lighting company has 30 employees just doing landscape lighting.
Wow.
And you can't run a business with 30 employees the same way when it's just you and a person. I mean, the communication, when you have 5, 6, 7 installs going on a day, that communication has to be solid from the phone to the salesperson to the installation team. And so you want to be putting that in early, that the systems in early, the processes in early, so that you're not trying to move this big ship and change everything around, because
Yeah.
that's a much greater challenge.
Big time. So, you start with a process. These are the little things, the little cogs, and they're very brief, but it gives you a nice checklist form to compile a nice picture of what that is going to be like. So the next step is procedure. So a procedure takes all the processes and further details exactly how to handle each of those. And it'll be very exact, very detailed. And this is where you want to come together with your team and write down the steps involved to carry out each process, right? So let's go with the mowing scenario again. This is now procedure. Now we're going to say, okay, upon arrival at the site, park in a safe location, open up your Surface software, clock in, look up your checklist, and start your checklist procedure. Inspect the lawn before you start mowing to avoid any obstacles or safety concerns. And it starts to break down every step of the mowing process in further detail. And this becomes a standard operating procedure in your company. And you're going to then put this down on paper or a document online, and you're going to share this and train your staff to do these steps all exactly how you wanted it done. And it's evolving, Pat. A standard operating procedure is going to change with new technology, new software, new equipment. So don't worry about that. You're going to massage it as you go, but to have it early on in your career, the better, because it's just going to get that quality control exactly where you would do it if you were doing the service. Now you're passing that baton off to your employees, and that's carried out through the procedure.
Yeah. And I think it's so easy to get caught in the trap of like, what you did starting your business just came naturally. Like when I pull up, I'm not thinking of where to park. I'm not thinking of getting out of the car. It was funny. I was talking to a big plumber. He's probably a $50-60 million plumbing company.
Yeah.
And he's like, we learned early on that when you start the job, you take photos before you start and after. And he's like, you don't know how many times we covered our butt because it was like, customers like, hey, your guy damaged this. And he's like, oh, I actually have a photo in our CRM that shows that was actually broke before we got there. And it's like, oh, okay.
That's
Otherwise,
crucial.
yeah.
Because like plumbing, like irrigation,
Hmm.
there's stuff buried that the customer will never see. So it's very crucial, I think, Pat, that your service techs take pictures to document that repair.
Yeah. And when they showed up, when they left, because we saw issues coming up where customers would say, hey, I don't know when the guy was here. I don't know what he did. I'm like, oh, let me send you all the photos. And taking the notes in the CRM. So the worst thing is like like we had a bad system. So it was like running around to go like, hey, Johnny, what did you do on this service call? And he's trying to remember from a week and a half ago. And you've got $700 waiting to get paid because you got to go and find the technician. And it's like, you have to build out the system. So it's like, I took a photo, I took notes of it while everything's fresh. And then the person answering the phone at that point could then say, let me send you all the information we have, but this is everything we did. And it's just detailed out.
That's the beauty of service software, field service software. You can input pictures, job notes. It gives you the exact time you were there,
Yeah.
and anybody in your company can look that up instantaneously, real time.
Without having to go back to the original person
Calling
and
people, waiting
yeah.
for them to get back to the shop, you know.
And a lot of it can be automated. We have, we monitor the trucks, which, early on, I never would have thought of monitoring a truck. Now, every one of my trucks have cameras on the front end, on the back end. It notifies us when they show up to the job. So I could look at everything to say, I know when they're showing up, when they're leaving. And then it could feel like Big Brother a little bit at the beginning, but you have to be,
Okay.
you have to know when people are getting there and how long they're at the project and what happened on the project. And that's our weekly meeting, is to say like, hey, this one went great, what happened here, and getting that communication, because it's different when you have 3 people, 5 people, 10 people. It's managing everything, and not everybody is doing things right, so you want to find the ones that are.
Yeah, and you're putting systems in place, procedures, processes to shore up, to help avoid speeding,
Mm-hmm.
driving recklessly. Um, I don't know what else. What else do you use those
Hard
cameras for?
braking, it shows you that.
Okay.
It'll show stops, it shows if someone goes home. A good friend of
Oh,
mine, he's like, I was watching when 2 of my guys went home for 2 hours, and it's like, why did
wow.
that job take so long? And so it's like, those are the bad ones you're trying to get rid of, obviously. But then
Yeah. It
there's just
keeps.
things that happen where it's like, you want to create an environment that the best quality people want to work for you. And if things are getting out of hand, the good ones are going to leave, and you're going to get stuck with
Yeah.
technicians that you're like, oh crap.
And it helps keep people honest. And I think today there's cameras everywhere. McDonald's,
Oh
you
yeah.
name it. Everybody's being watched somehow.
Hmm.
So I think that's not as a big concern today as it was when we
Yeah.
were out there in the trenches, you know. So, all right, so now that we have our procedure in place, very detailed list of processes that spells out to a T how to perform a specific task or service, let's now talk about a system. All right, so now this is the biggest part of your company. A system is the entire mowing service infrastructure. It encompasses all the tools,
Hmm.
resources, even employee trainings to contribute to a smooth operation. Let's talk about, in this case of a mowing service, what a system would look like. It's going to be your equipment, your scheduling service software, your safety gear. What are you going to give and offer people to operate with safely? Training. What are you going to do for trainings? That element of the company. And then it even gets into a system can be comprised of a customer service cog, as well as what's your invoicing cog look like, and proactive promotion for your existing customers. So if you look at it, Pat, to me, a process is one little cog, a procedure is several cogs connecting,
Hmm.
going down, and then a system is these bigger cogs to create this bigger picture that brings the whole company together as far as everything a company does to drive it together in unison.
Yeah. And I heard a good quote that said, what you're doing is you're creating a culture. And the first four letters of any culture is cult. And so it's, you get almost this cult feeling of like for us, it's like, hey, this is, my installation company, this is the Dayloom way of doing it. And I want my guys taking pride in like, this is how we do it, and we do it better than anyone else. They were at an install last week, and they said it was funny because there's another lighting project being put in next door. And they said the other guys just sat there watching them because they were moving in like, just like knocking out the install, where like one guy's doing what he's supposed to be doing, another guy's doing what they're supposed to be doing. And they just rolled through an install, and it was just so much quicker and more precise because it had all been laid out, like the expectations, what to do, what each person was doing on that project, which that takes a lot of planning. But he's
It
like, we
does.
were in and out and done and moving on to the next job. And the other guys came by like, how the hell did you do that? And
Yeah.
it's for us, it's like, oh, this is the Dayloom way. Like we do it this way every time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Customers take note of that. They see the professionalism and the efficiencies, and us as business owners, that's our job to take what we've done, how efficient we were, and the quality control that we put in place, and translate that to your working teams. And Pat, when I go to job sites, I inspect and I feel out the team and
mhm.
their dynamic.
Yeah.
And I want my foreman to be head honcho. So I'm going to take a back seat and not get in his way. And I want to see him delegate
Yeah.
to the team. And I want to see how they respond. And I want to see if they follow procedures that we've put in place.
hmm
And I'll take that information, take notes, etc., and I'll come back to the office and compile a training if that wasn't done to my standard. And then that's my teaching for the next foreman meeting with him. I'm going to be like, hey, here's what I noticed at your last job, and just go over it. It's not a ill will thing. It's a very productive educational thing for him or her to learn and get back on track,
Yeah. Yeah. And your best people, and I've got a guy, Bryce, who's been with me 5, 6 years, and he'll just take the load himself and carry it a lot. And so that was
Uh,
working with him a little bit to go like, somebody's not pulling their weight, come and talk to me. And ultimately we came with like, hey, Bryce, if someone's out in the field and they're just driving you crazy, you could fire them. Come talk to me, let me
yeah.
know. But to give that power to them to say like,
Yeah.
you have the power to come to me and we'll let somebody go on your recommendation.
So in short, a process is the general customer experience. The procedure is the specific way you handle each step. And then the system is your entire service and infrastructure that makes it all possible. So hopefully that helps us understand, what is process, procedure, and system. Pat,
Yeah.
do you have any particular issue or problem that you've
Every day.
analyzed every
I
day?
think, yeah, I think one of the, I mean, you are as an owner, you're solving problems, and it is taking a step back sometime. I remember, probably like 2007 or 8, we started going through and just looking at our systems. Like I always talk about the honeymoon phase in lighting, like that first 3 years where you have like no service calls, you're putting in systems, everything's great. You're just focusing on new sales. And then about 3 years into it, you start having issues. So we sat down and we spent about 4 or 5 months just categorizing every single service call to come up to say like, what's giving us the most trouble? Is it connections? Is it wire not being buried deep enough? And just kind of making a list so we have actual numbers to look at. And then from there, we went back into our systems, the lighting system, and started coming up with our process, our procedure, our system, like walking right through it, going like, all right, this is what we need to fix. And for a while, I was driving everybody nuts because I was like, we got to solve this issue. Our worst thing is unwarranted service calls. So something that goes out that's really not a warranty service call, one that we're going out, or an unpaid service call. That's what we hate doing and taking up all our time where we're not generating revenue. So, we had to go through and look at like the installation techniques or system techniques, write it all down, find out what the problems are, and solve those problems.
Yeah. We had I like to dummy down things to make them as easy as possible to not F up for
Yeah.
the staff. So one thing in particular in our landscaping company, we took a routine of mixing chemicals
Hmm.
So, in landscaping, you're dealing with all kinds of herbicides, insecticides, etc. And we have to carry those in every crew to perform our landscape management every week. So what we did was we said, okay, we're going to have 3 or 4 different backpack containers. So how do they know very quickly what one particular backpack has in it?
Yeah.
So number one, you have to follow OSHA and us in North Carolina, we have specific labeling required for
Hmm.
insecticides and herbicides. So you got a common name, whether it's hazardous or
Yeah,
the
the
uh,
label.
the volatility label there. And we also would put the mix rate right on the label as well, just to help identify how much to mix right there on the back. But the big thing that helped drive us to efficiency was to color each chemical according to what it is. So all our shrub care products were blue, all our lawn care products were green, and all our Roundup was red.
You don't
So
want
it
to
was a
mix
very
those.
quick, huh?
You don't want to mix that up.
No, not at all, So we've had that happen where they thought it
Spray
was
the
weed killer
boxwoods.
for the lawn, and it
Hmm.
was actually Roundup. And these big old burn spots all over the yard. You get a few of those calls throughout the
Yeah.
year, and you're like, oh my God, we got to do something to change this. So that's what we did, was this color coding system. And that helped a lot. It helped easily recognize what it is and help prevent mistakes down the road.
Yeah. But you see it, I mean, something as simple as that, getting into, where are they filling up the lawnmowers with gas? And I've seen so many guys where they just dump it in and some drains into the yard, and that beautiful lawn all of a sudden has a big dead spot in it that you're
Yeah.
having to nurture and bring back. So,
Yeah. And that's part of our procedure was we made a standard operating procedure for everything. So fueling to equipment maintenance to what do you do on a job site if you're doing landscape maintenance versus if you're installing a paver patio versus if you're going to do an irrigation service. So my job was to make things as simple as possible, that whole KISS, keep it simple, stupid, and then color code things and train people on this SOP that we created around each one.
and just to say how this applies to like just your life in general, twice my neighbors all laugh at me because twice I filled up my four-wheeler with diesel.
Ooh,
They don't like diesel that much, so we did it the first time, but the second time, like, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm like,
my God.
yeah, I've got to use the colored cans. I'm not going to do it by writing a marker on it. And like this time it's diesel, so
That's
learning
right.
the hard way.
Yeah,
But we did.
because, markers do fade off and rub off.
One guy mixes it up, so use the proper spec on that.
Yeah.
In inventory is a lesson we learned because like we're always keeping a minimal amount of inventory. We don't want to do it. We don't order per job, but we have so many in case something could pop up. We're ready to roll. And the simplest system was just having like this is minimum inventory levels, and we just drew on the wall. So it's like we've got
Okay.
5 boxes of this fixture here, 3 boxes here, and if you see that blue tape show up, that means we need to reorder.
Yeah.
On top of our our regular orders, but just something as simple as that anybody could walk in and see, hey, we're low on this product. We got to get an order and fill in the basic inventory. There's a lot more complicated systems, but keeping that real simple where it's like, I can look at that in 2 seconds and know, hey, we need to place an order so we have it.
Yeah. And so, guys, it's very important as business owners to look at efficient ways to improve and level up your business. Look at ways to solve issues that keep reoccurring, but prioritize them, because there's thousands of things you could work on to improve on, but choose the ones that's going to have the biggest bang for your buck, because they do take time to, debunk, organize your thoughts, create a process or a solution around it. And then in training and implementation of it all, I mean, it can get very expensive, Pat, like OSHA gas cans, which we moved from, early on your career, you'll just use plastic ones from Home Depot, but eventually you're going to do the OSHA level 2 cans that cost $100 a pop. And I loved those, Pat, because they were colorized from the factory. So blue cans would be our mixed fuel, red cans, the regular, and yellow was our diesel. So color coordination for me was throughout my company. Our team crews had different colors. So all their collection cages where they stored their off-season equipment in was all color coded to their team color. And all their equipment that they used was wrapped in duct tape colored. So easily recognized, hey, that's my piece of mower equipment.
Yeah.
So we don't
and labeling
borrow
everything. You know how many trucks I've seen out there that's like, only put diesel fuel in this truck, because you make that mistake once and...
Well, you have to dummy it down. We used to have on our diesel crew trucks, we put a sticker right below the cap. Diesel fuel only. Yeah. And we actually painted the caps yellow, Pat.
Okay.
To make them stand out.
Yeah. Things that on your own you're never doing. Like you're probably not doing that at your, the truck you're driving around. But you want to make it so anybody who's working for you can figure this out. Like if you could match up, the colors and, it's that simple that you really have to screw it up.
Yeah. It's like going to a hotel room. You'll go to a hotel room and you'll like, oh man, this picture's awesome. And you touch a picture on the wall and it's bolted to the damn wall.
Yeah. You can't steal those.
No, but they did that because they probably got stolen in the past.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And that's a thing that you'll evolve your business to be more and more bulletproof every day, week, month. And that's just going to add to your bottom line. It adds to your profit margins, the efficiencies, the customer satisfaction level.
Yep.
And that's what we want to promote to help you guys level up. And we're still doing it ourselves today. We're constantly evolving, trying to think of ways to add profitability, add employee satisfaction, improve a product. Pat, you're always improving your Sterling lighting products.
Yeah.
Evolving those, and it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah. I love Dr. Deming, who was really big, and it's just constant daily improvement. And it's like, if you get 1% better every day, you're going to have massive movements by the end of the year. And so it's like always trying to get a little better. And it's so easy to fall into the trap of like, this person's an idiot. This guy's did this. And it's like, well, did I train them on how to take apart a transformer and get to the root problem inside or the circuit breakers out? I've done it in my sleep, so it's really easy, but having the training and then showing them how to do it. And it's not just a one-time thing that they look at and then 6 months they run into it, something you're discussing. And it ultimately, the buck falls on me. It's like, I'm the one that is responsible for my culture, and to have the proper culture, I have to have the training program set up. I have to have a system and process set up, and then expectations are met.
And a kickstart way to quickly do these things is a field service software. It provides a lot of elements together in one place. It's real time, so anybody, anywhere. I could check House Call Pro right now from the beach and know exactly where my crews are, how they have progressed through today on their schedules. I can look at pictures they've taken on the jobs, and that's a really quick way, Pat, for any company to quickly start this process of improving your business, solving problems. And field software is our best friend as we work towards building a better company.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine running a business without it. And just getting the notifications like, hey, so-and-so showed up at the office, or these people left at this time. So, I get all of those notifications that come in, and it could seem like it's overwhelming amount of information until you really have to start checking things, where all of a sudden you're like, I'm noticing somebody is always leaving later than everybody else, or, why are we late to our jobs? Nobody's getting going. So we didn't have a process of like how to start the morning. Real simple. Like if they're starting the morning with half hour of, talking and messing around and then going to sheets and getting a sandwich and then that's just killing your bottom line. And especially you're ruining the cool part of the day. So if they don't get to a job till like 9:30, and by 11 it's already 95 degrees out, nobody's as efficient once the heat kicks on, where they get there at 8:15 or 7:30. They could roll, and by 11 they're wrapping up instead of just starting.
Yeah, we that was one problem we saw, was the morning coffee run, cigarette run,
Yeah.
and we made it a policy that no employee or crew is allowed to go to any convenience store in the morning. It's crowded. There's more potential for accidents, and of course you're going to lose all that productivity time. So we built in a system where we assigned crews one day a week that they went to fuel, and we routed that into their schedule software.
Mm-hmm.
So we worked it into the best, if most efficient route, because we had a commercial fueling site as well.
Yes.
So there's not other people usually there. It's less crowded, and there's not a lot of distractions.
Yep.
And just do what you can to put more money in your pocket as the owner, and help avoid issues of people wasting time that
Building up their own car. And you always know the place is called Sheets. If you eat a sheet sandwich in the morning, there's no chance you're not trying to find a bathroom about 2 hours later. So
holy sheets. No doubt.
yeah.
All right, guys. So we hope this helps you as you look at problems, look at issues, hell, even looking at ways to increase productivity and revenue, etc. Consider a process. Consider, delving that process into an actual procedure, a standard operating procedure, and then implementing your procedures into your system. Your whole company system is going to rotate and evolve around everything you help create. So do it today. Don't wait, because the earlier you do it, the better off you're going to be tomorrow. Tell us what you're working on out there, and let us know some ways you're improving your own business in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to Outdoorsy Entrepreneur YouTube channel and hit those notifications, and listen to wherever you get your podcast, and follow us on our social media platforms at outdoorsyboss. Looking for a productive field software to take your business to the next level? Check out House Call Pro. We've got a money-saving link down in the description below. Free 14-day trial. Outdoorsy Entrepreneur community gets 50% off their first 2 months. So check out House Call Pro today. The Outdoorsy Entrepreneur Masterclass will be launching this summer. It's going to be a community of like-minded, dedicated entrepreneurs working on their business to level up and profit. Check out Outdoorsy Entrepreneur and enter for special early bird rates we'll be releasing. And get to your blue ocean beach. Can't wait to see you guys in the next episode.
All aboard!